The morning light from the twin suns painted the metal walls of New Haven Station in warm orange colors. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the large window looking out at the rocky landscape of Terra Prime. 3 years had passed since the last message from Earth arrived. 3 long years of silence that felt like a lifetime to the 12,000 people living on this distant world. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and checked his watch. Another sleepless night worrying about his people. The mining colony was supposed to be a temporary outpost where workers could extract valuable minerals and send them back to Earth. Now it had become their permanent home whether they liked it or not. The hyperspace communication network had failed without warning and left them completely cut off from the rest of human civilization. Dr. Lisa Carter walked into the observation room carrying 2 cups of synthetic coffee. She handed one to Jake and stood beside him at the window. Her medical bay had been working overtime lately as more miners got injured in the dangerous tunnels. Without proper replacement parts for their equipment, everything was breaking down faster than they could fix it. "How many injuries yesterday?" Jake asked without taking his eyes off the horizon. 7 broken bones and 12 cases of tunnel lung from the dust, Lisa replied. "I'm running low on antibiotics again. Maybe Ben can work another miracle with the supply inventory." Ben Phillips had become a legend among the colonists for his ability to stretch their limited resources. The supply coordinator could make food rations last longer than anyone thought possible. He traded spare parts between different departments and somehow kept the whole colony running on fumes and determination. But even Ben's skills had limits. Captain Amy Rodriguez appeared in the doorway wearing her security uniform. Her team of 30 guards kept order in the residential blocks where tension ran high every day. People were scared and angry about being abandoned by Earth. Some days felt like a powder keg ready to explode. "We had another fight in Block 7 last night," Amy reported. The Henderson family accused the Martinez of stealing food from the common storage. Turns out both families were taking extra portions for their kids. Jake nodded and sipped his bitter coffee. Children were the hardest part of this whole situation. They asked questions that adults couldn't answer. "When are we going home? Why hasn't anyone come to get us? Are our grandparents still alive on Earth?" The adults had run out of hopeful lies to tell them. "Any word from the outer mining stations?" Jake asked. "Danny Wright's team is still working on Shaft 12, Amy said. "They hit another equipment failure yesterday. The drilling machine broke down completely this time. Danny thinks he can rebuild it, but he needs parts we don't have." Chief Engineer Danny Wright was probably the most important person on Terra Prime after Jake himself. The young engineer kept their power systems running and their air recyclers working. Without Danny's constant repairs, the whole colony would shut down in a matter of days. The communication system crackled to life with Tony Garcia's voice from the control room. "Commander Morrison, please report to communications immediately. We have something on the long-range sensors." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. The sensors hadn't detected anything larger than a meteor in over 2 years. He rushed down the corridor with Lisa and Amy following close behind. The communication center was small and cramped with banks of old equipment that Tony somehow kept functioning. "What do you have, Tony?" Jake asked as he entered the room. Tony Garcia pointed at his screen with shaking hands. The communications officer was barely 25 years old and had never expected to spend his career on a forgotten mining world. "Sir, there's a large object approaching our system. It's definitely artificial and it's big. Really big." Jake looked at the sensor reading and felt a mix of hope and fear. The object was moving at incredible speed and would reach Terra Prime in less than 6 hours. After 3 years of waiting, this could finally be their rescue ship from Earth. "Can you establish communication?" Jake asked. Tony worked frantically at his console trying different frequencies and protocols. "I'm sending standard Earth fleet identification codes but getting no response. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database either." Amy stepped closer to the screen. "Could it be a new type of Earth ship? Maybe they developed better technology while we've been stuck out here." "Possible," Jake said, but something felt wrong. Earth ships always responded to standard communication codes. They had backup systems and emergency protocols for every situation. This ship was completely silent. Lisa studied the sensor data over Tony's shoulder. The size readings seem unusual. It's almost 3 times larger than the biggest Earth transport ships. Danny Wright arrived in the communication room still covered in grease from working on the broken mining equipment. "I heard the announcement over the comm system. Are we finally getting rescued?" "We don't know yet," Jake replied. "Tony, keep trying to establish contact." Danny, I want you to check our defensive systems just in case. Defensive systems. Danny looked confused. Sir, we're a mining colony. We have some small security weapons, but nothing that could stop a real warship. Jake had a growing feeling that something was very wrong with this situation. After 3 years of hoping for rescue, the timing felt too convenient. The approaching ship was too large and too silent for comfort. The hours passed slowly as the mysterious vessel grew larger on their sensors. Tony tried every communication method he knew, but received only silence in return. The ship's trajectory showed it was heading directly for Terra Prime at a speed that seemed almost reckless. Ben Phillips joined them in the communication room, bringing food rations for everyone. I've been calculating our supply situation if this is a rescue ship. We can feed about 500 additional people for maybe 2 weeks. If they're planning to evacuate us, we need to do it fast. What if it's not a rescue ship? Amy asked the question everyone was thinking. Jake stared at the sensor screen, watching the approaching vessel. Then we're about to find out what 3 years of isolation has prepared us for. The ship was close enough now that they could see it wasn't built by human hands. The hull was angular and strange, with design elements that hurt to look at directly. Whatever was coming toward Terra Prime, it definitely wasn't from Earth. As the alien vessel entered their atmosphere, trailing fire and atmosphere, Jake realized their long wait for rescue was over. But what came next might be far worse than being forgotten. The alien ship hit the northern mining sector like a falling mountain. The impact shook the entire colony and sent shockwaves through the underground tunnel system. Jake Morrison was thrown against the wall of the communication room as the lights flickered and went out. Emergency power kicked in a few seconds later, bathing everything in red light. "Damage report," Jake shouted over the wailing sirens. Tony Garcia's hands flew over his console as data streamed across multiple screens. Seismic sensors show a massive impact in Sector 7. The northern mining complex has collapsed and we've lost contact with 3 work teams. Amy Rodriguez was already moving toward the door. "I'm taking security teams to the crash site. We need to find those missing miners." "Wait." Jake grabbed her arm. "We don't know what's in that ship. Take weapons and keep your teams at a safe distance until we know more." Dr. Lisa Carter was checking her medical supplies. "I'm setting up emergency treatment stations in the main hall. If there are survivors in those collapsed tunnels, they're going to need immediate care." Danny Wright appeared in the doorway with a grim expression. "Commander, the impact damaged our main power grid. We're running on backup generators, but they won't last more than 48 hours. The communication array is completely destroyed." Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. In less than an hour, they had gone from hoping for rescue to dealing with a disaster that could kill them all. "How long to repair the power grid?" "Without replacement parts, maybe a week if we're lucky," Danny replied. "The communication system is beyond repair. We're completely cut off now." The colony's emergency protocols kicked into action as teams rushed to different crisis points. Ben Phillips coordinated the evacuation of non-essential personnel from the damaged sections, while his supply teams gathered emergency equipment. The crash had turned their already difficult situation into a potential death sentence. Amy Rodriguez led her security teams through the twisted corridors toward the northern sector. The walls showed stress fractures, and some areas had completely collapsed. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows that made everything look like a nightmare. Her team carried the colony's small collection of pulse rifles and energy weapons meant for dealing with dangerous wildlife. When they reached the crash site, Amy couldn't believe what she was seeing. The alien ship was enormous and partially buried in the collapsed mining complex. Its hull was dark and angular, with surfaces that seemed to bend light in impossible ways. Steam and strange gases poured from multiple hull breaches. "Stay back and keep your weapons ready," Amy ordered her team. "Tony, can you hear me on comm?" "Barely." Tony's voice crackled through the static. "The interference from that ship is scrambling our short-range communications." Through the smoke and debris, Amy could see movement inside the wrecked vessel. Something large was moving around in there, and it definitely wasn't human. She raised her pulse rifle and gestured for her team to spread out into defensive positions. The first alien emerged from a hull breach near the ship's front section. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with a body that looked like it was covered in black armor. 6 limbs moved with fluid grace as it climbed over the twisted metal. Its head was elongated with what looked like multiple eyes that glowed with a soft blue light. "Contact," Amy whispered into her comm unit. "We have visual on at least one alien survivor. It's big and it doesn't look friendly." More aliens appeared from different parts of the ship. They moved through the wreckage like they were searching for something specific. Each one carried what looked like advanced weapons and scanning devices. Their technology was clearly far beyond anything the human colony possessed. Back in the communications center, Jake was trying to coordinate rescue efforts for the trapped miners while keeping track of the alien situation. "Lisa, how many people are we missing in the collapse?" 15 miners were working in Shaft 12 when it went down. Dr. Carter replied through the comm system. "I have teams digging toward their last known position, but it's going to take time." Tony was monitoring the aliens with the colony's external cameras. "Commander, the aliens have established some kind of perimeter around their ship. They're using handheld devices to scan the surrounding area. Can you intercept any of their communications?" Jake asked. "I'm trying, but their technology is completely different from ours," Tony said. "Wait, I'm getting something. It's fragmented, but I think they're using some kind of universal translation protocol." Danny Wright was working frantically to stabilize the power grid when his team discovered something important in the damaged mining complex. "Commander, you need to hear this. We found some of the aliens' technology scattered around the crash site." "This stuff is incredible. What do you mean?" Jake asked. "Their power systems operate on principles I've never seen before," Danny explained. "If we could understand how it works, we might be able to solve our energy problems permanently." The situation became more complicated when one of Amy's patrol teams encountered a group of aliens in the outer tunnels. The aliens seemed surprised to find humans underground, and both sides backed away without violence, but the tension was building toward a dangerous confrontation. "We need to attempt communication," Jake decided. "Tony, work with whatever translation data you've gathered. We need to find out what they want." Tony spent the next several hours analyzing fragments of alien communications while the rescue teams continued digging for the trapped miners. The aliens had not approached the main colony, but they had established defensive positions around their crashed ship. Dr. Carter made an important discovery when she examined debris from the alien vessel. "Jake, their ship contains some kind of advanced medical technology. The scanning devices I found could revolutionize how we treat injuries and diseases. Are you saying their technology could help us?" Jake asked. "Possibly," Lisa replied. "But we'd need to establish peaceful contact first." As the day wore on, it became clear that both the humans and the aliens were in desperate situations. The alien ship was badly damaged and they seemed to be stranded just like the human colonists. Neither side had made aggressive moves, but everyone remained on high alert. Jake made the decision that would change everything. "We're going to try to communicate with them. If they're stranded here too, then maybe we can help each other." The first attempt at contact would determine whether Terra Prime became the site of humanity's first peaceful alien encounter or its last battle. The first real confrontation happened in Tunnel 7, when mining foreman Carl Johnson's team encountered 3 aliens while checking for structural damage. Carl was a tough man who had worked dangerous mines his whole life, but nothing had prepared him for creatures that looked like armored nightmares with glowing eyes. "Back away slowly," Carl whispered to his miners. "Don't make any sudden movements." The aliens seemed equally surprised by the encounter. They raised their strange weapons but didn't fire immediately. Both groups stared at each other across the dark tunnel, with emergency lights casting eerie shadows on the walls. The tension stretched like a wire ready to snap. One of the miners, named Pete Williams, panicked and threw his helmet at the nearest alien. The creature reacted instantly, firing some kind of energy beam that melted the metal helmet and left a smoking crater in the tunnel wall. Carl grabbed Pete and pulled him back as the aliens advanced. "Run!" Carl shouted, and his team scattered down different tunnel branches. The incident left 2 miners with severe burns and 1 alien dead from a cave, and caused by the energy weapon discharge. Amy Rodriguez arrived with her security team just as the aliens were retreating to their ship, carrying their fallen comrade. "Nobody fires unless I give the order," Amy commanded her team. "We don't want to start a war we can't win." Jake Morrison was furious when he heard about the confrontation. "I want strict boundary zones established immediately. No human goes near their ship and no alien enters our tunnels without permission." But Dr. Lisa Carter had a different idea when she examined the alien technology recovered from the tunnel fight. The dead aliens' equipment included medical devices that were far beyond human science. Despite the language barrier and the recent violence, she wanted to try communicating with their medical personnel. "This is insane, Lisa," Jake said when she explained her plan. "They just attacked our people. Our people attacked first, Lisa replied firmly. And their medical technology could save lives on both sides. Someone has to take the first step toward communication. Against his better judgment, Jake agreed to let Lisa attempt contact. She approached the alien perimeter carrying medical supplies and basic drawings, showing human anatomy. The aliens watched her carefully but didn't shoot when she placed the supplies on the ground and backed away. Several hours later, an alien approached the same spot carrying what looked like medical equipment. Lisa had nicknamed this alien Healer because it seemed to be their medical officer based on the devices it carried. Through crude drawings in the dirt, they began exchanging basic medical information. Danny Wright was having his own breakthrough with alien technology. The crashed ship's power systems operated on quantum principles that could revolutionize human engineering. Working with fragments of alien equipment, he began to understand how their energy generation worked. "Commander, this changes everything," Danny explained excitedly to Jake. "Their power systems could run our entire colony for years without any fuel. But they need raw materials to repair their ship." Tony Garcia was making progress with alien communications using salvaged translation equipment from the crash site. The aliens called themselves Zephyrians, and their language was based on mathematical concepts that his computer systems could slowly decode. "I'm getting fragments of their transmissions," Tony reported. "Something about running away and being hunted. They seem to be refugees, not invaders." The breakthrough came when Tony managed to establish basic communication through a combination of mathematics and visual symbols. The Zephyrian leader agreed to meet with Jake Morrison at a neutral location between the colony and the crash site. Jake walked toward the meeting point with sweaty palms and a racing heart. First contact with an alien species was not something covered in mining colony management training. Amy Rodriguez and her security team watched from hidden positions, ready to intervene if things went wrong. The Zephyrian leader was even more imposing up close, standing nearly 8 feet tall with 6 powerful limbs and armor-like skin that reflected light in strange patterns. But when it began communicating through Tony's translation device, Jake realized they were dealing with an intelligent being facing the same kind of desperate situation as the human colonists. Through broken translations and crude visual displays, the alien leader told a terrifying story. Their people called themselves Zephyrians, and they had once controlled a vast area of space with dozens of worlds and billions of citizens. But something called the Devourers had come from the dark spaces between stars. The Devourers were not just conquerors, they were consumers who literally ate entire worlds. They stripped planets down to bare rock and absorbed all organic matter into their living ships. World after world had fallen to their endless hunger, until only scattered groups of Zephyrian refugees remained. "Homeworld gone," the translation device said in its mechanical voice. "All worlds gone. We are last ship, last hope." Jake felt his blood turn cold when he understood what this meant. "Are they following you?" "Yes," came the translated response. "Devourers come, always come. Days only." The full horror of the situation hit Jake like a physical blow. The Zephyrians hadn't just crashed on Terra Prime by accident. They were fleeing from something that destroyed entire civilizations, and now it was heading straight for the human colony. "How many days?" Jake asked. The alien leader made complex gestures while consulting a device on its arm. 4 days, maybe 5. Then Devourers arrive and consume everything. Jake looked at the damaged alien ship and thought about his 12,000 colonists, with their failing equipment and limited weapons. They were about to face an enemy that had destroyed an advanced civilization spanning multiple star systems. Carlo Johnson and several other miners had gathered near the meeting site, demanding that the aliens be expelled from the colony immediately. "They brought this disaster on us," Carl shouted. "We should drive them away before it's too late." But Jake was thinking about Dr. Carter's medical breakthroughs and Danny Wright's technological discoveries. The Zephyrians had advanced knowledge that could help the colony survive. Their ship contained weapons and defenses that might give them a fighting chance against the Devourers. "We help each other, or we all die," Jake said finally. "Those are our only choices." The alien leader seemed to understand even before the translation device processed the words. "Alliance," it said in heavily accented English. "Together fight or together die." As Jake shook hands with a 6-limbed alien refugee, he wondered if he had just saved his people or doomed them all. In 4 days, they would find out together. The emergency meeting in the main colony hall was the most heated discussion Terra Prime had ever seen. Carl Johnson stood at the front of a group of angry miners and families, demanding that the aliens be expelled immediately. On the other side, Dr. Lisa Carter and Danny Wright argued for cooperation with the Zephyrians. "They brought death to our doorstep," Carl shouted while pointing toward the crash site. "We were surviving just fine before they arrived. Now we're all going to die because of them." Jake Morrison tried to maintain order, but the colonists were terrified and angry. 3 years of isolation and struggle had pushed them to the breaking point. Learning that world-destroying aliens were coming in 3 days was almost too much for anyone to handle. "Listen to me," Jake said, raising his voice above the arguing crowd. "The Devourers would have found us eventually, whether the Zephyrians came here or not. They consume entire star systems. Our choice isn't between safety and danger. Our choice is between facing this threat alone or facing it with allies." Ben Phillips had been running calculations on his portable computer. "If we help repair their ship, we'll use most of our remaining supplies. The colony will have maybe 4 months of food and materials left. And if we don't help them?" asked Amy Rodriguez. "Then we all die in 3 days when the Devourers arrive," Danny Wright replied. "I've been studying their ship technology. The Zephyrians have weapons and defenses we can't even imagine. Without them, we have no chance at all." Dr. Carter stood up to address the crowd. "Their medical technology has already helped me treat injuries that would have been fatal before. Their knowledge could keep us alive even if we survived the Devourer attack." Tony Garcia had been monitoring long-range sensors from his communication station. He burst into the meeting hall with news that silenced all arguments. "Commander, they're here. The Devourer fleet just entered our solar system." The room fell completely quiet as the horrible reality hit everyone at once. There would be no more time for debate or preparation. The enemy that had destroyed an entire alien civilization was only hours away from Terra Prime. Jake made the decision that would determine everyone's fate. "We're going to work with the Zephyrians. Everyone who wants to help will be assigned to repair teams. Everyone else will evacuate to the deepest mining tunnels and wait." Carl Johnson and about 50 colonists chose to evacuate to the underground shelters. The rest of the colony began the desperate work of combining human and alien technology to create some kind of defense against an unstoppable enemy. Danny Wright led teams of engineers and mechanics to the Zephyrian ship where alien technicians showed them how to integrate human mining equipment with their advanced weapon systems. The work was dangerous because no one fully understood the alien technology. But they had no choice, except to try. Amy Rodriguez organized combined human and Zephyrian security teams to establish defensive positions throughout the colony. The aliens had energy weapons that could cut through solid rock, while the humans contributed heavy mining equipment that could be converted into mobile weapon platforms. Dr. Carter worked with the Zephyrian medical officer to study human biology and prepare for treating injuries from weapons that operated on completely unknown principles. She discovered that human blood chemistry was different enough from Zephyrian biology that some alien medical treatments had unexpected effects on human patients. The Zephyrian leader, whose name roughly translated to strategist, revealed their most desperate option to Jake Morrison. Deep inside their damaged ship was a quantum resonance weapon, capable of destabilizing the local star. It was a last resort that would destroy the Devourers but also annihilate everything in the solar system. "Star weapon kills all," the translation device explained. "Devourers die. We die. You die. Everything dies." Jake stared at the alien weapon that looked like a crystal sculpture connected to massive power conduits. "Is there any other way to stop them?" "Devourers have consumed 1,000 worlds," strategist replied. "No weapon stops them. No defense holds them. They eat everything and leave nothing." Ben Phillips was coordinating the evacuation of non-essential personnel to the deepest mining tunnels when he made a disturbing discovery. The Devourers weren't just going to attack the surface of Terra Prime. Their biomechanical ships were already sending out feeder tendrils that burrowed deep into the planet's crust to begin the consumption process, Commander. "They're not just going to attack us," Ben reported over the comm system. "They're going to eat the entire planet from the inside out. The deep tunnels won't protect anyone." Tony Garcia was monitoring the approaching Devourer fleet with a mixture of fascination and terror. The ships were unlike anything in human or Zephyrian databases. They seemed to be partially alive with organic components that pulsed and moved like living tissue. Each ship was the size of a small city, and there were dozens of them. "They're not built, they're grown," Tony reported. "These things are alive somehow. They're using the planets they've consumed to build more ships." Amy Rodriguez was testing the integrated weapon systems when she discovered something that gave her hope. The Devourers were accustomed to fighting advanced civilizations with predictable technology and tactics. They had never encountered the chaotic improvisation that humans used when desperate. Their ships respond to organized resistance with specific countermeasures, Amy explained to Jake. "But what if we don't fight like an organized military? What if we fight like desperate miners with improvised weapons?" Dr. Carter made the most important discovery of all when she analyzed samples of Devourer biomaterial that the Zephyrians had recovered from previous battles. Human biochemistry was so different from what the Devourers usually encountered that their consumption process might not work properly on human tissue. "We might be naturally resistant to their assimilation techniques," Lisa explained. "They're designed to process specific alien biologies. Human biology could be incompatible with their systems." As the Devourer ships entered Terra Prime's atmosphere, Jake Morrison realized that their only hope lay not in superior technology or careful strategy, but in something the galaxy-destroying enemy had never encountered before: human stubbornness and the willingness to try impossible things when everything else had failed. The battle for Terra Prime was about to begin, and humanity was going to fight it in the most human way possible. The Devourer ships descended from the sky like giant metal, insects hungry for everything, that lived on Terra Prime. Each biomechanical vessel was covered in organic tendrils that reached toward the planet's surface, seeking to drain every trace of life from the world. Jake Morrison watched from the colony's main observation deck as humanity faced its first encounter with true galactic horror. "All teams to positions," Jake announced over the colony-wide communication system. "Remember, we're not trying to win a traditional battle. We're trying to survive long enough to make them regret coming here." Amy Rodriguez led the first wave of defenders using converted mining vehicles as improvised assault craft. The cargo haulers had been fitted with Zephyrian energy weapons and human explosive charges, creating hybrid war machines that looked like they belonged in a scrapyard rather than a space battle. Her team launched from hidden positions in the mining tunnels and struck at the Devourer feeding tendrils before the bioships could react properly. "Hit and run," Amy ordered her drivers. "Don't stay in one place long enough for them to target you. Make them think we're everywhere at once." The Devourers had conquered thousands of worlds using the same basic strategy. They deployed overwhelming force against organized military resistance and absorbed defensive technologies into their own biomechanical systems. But they had never faced miners with welding torches, attached to cargo haulers or demolition charges, disguised as communication equipment. Danny Wright's engineering team struck at the Devourer command ship using a plan so crazy that no sane military force would have attempted it. They converted the colony's main industrial elevator into a massive railgun that could launch mining pods directly at enemy vessels. Each pod contained a team of volunteers with cutting tools and enough explosives to cripple a ship's vital systems. "Launch in 10 seconds, Danny announced from the improvised firing control station. "Remember, you're not soldiers, you're miners. Cut through their hull like it's just another rock formation." The first mining pod hit the Devourer command ship and immediately began boring into its biomechanical armor using industrial drilling equipment. The aliens inside had been expecting energy weapons and kinetic projectiles, but they had no defense against humans who treated their ship like an ore deposit to be mined. Dr. Lisa Carter's medical research proved crucial when Ben Phillips discovered how to weaponize human blood chemistry. The compounds that made humans resistant to Devourer bioweapons could also disrupt the organic components of their ships. Working together, they created biochemical charges that could cause cascade failures in entire ship sections. Deploy the blood bombs. Ben ordered his supply teams, who were launching containers filled with concentrated human plasma, at the enemy vessels. Aim for the organic connection points. Let's give them indigestion they'll never forget. Tony Garcia had been trying to hack into the Devourer communication network when he realized that human music and literature could be turned into weapons. The chaotic creativity of human thought patterns was completely alien to the collective consciousness that controlled the Devourer fleet. He began broadcasting everything from rock music to mathematical proofs across their bio-neural links. Their collective mind can't process random human creativity. Tony explained to Jake while uploading the complete works of Shakespeare into the Devourer network. It's causing cascade failures in their command structure. Carl Johnson had initially opposed the alliance with the Zephyrians but became an unlikely hero when his mining crew discovered that the Devourers were vulnerable to old-fashioned human stubbornness. His team used mining charges and heavy equipment to attack the central processing node that coordinated the enemy fleet's consciousness. "This is for everyone who thought we were forgotten," Carl shouted into his communication device as his team detonated enough explosives to level a mountain. "This is what happens when you threaten our home." The battle reached its turning point when Ben Phillips realized that the Zephyrian quantum weapon didn't need to destroy the local star to defeat the Devourers. Instead of creating a stellar explosion, the device could generate a resonance field that would disrupt the biomechanical bonds holding the enemy ships together. "It's like using a sonic drill to break apart rock formations," Ben explained to strategists through the translation device. "We don't need to blow up the mountain. We just need to find the right frequency to make it fall apart." The Zephyrian leader understood immediately and began recalibrating the quantum weapon while human and alien defenders held off the increasingly desperate Devourer attacks. The biomechanical ships were adapting to human tactics, but they couldn't adapt fast enough to counter the sheer unpredictability of desperate people fighting for their homes. Amy Rodriguez's final assault team broke through the Devourer defenses. Just as the quantum weapon reached full power, her improvised war machines had taken heavy casualties, but they had bought enough time for the Zephyrians to complete their preparations. "All units pull back to minimum safe distance," Jake ordered. "Strategist, you have permission to fire." The quantum resonance weapon activated with a sound like the universe itself screaming. Waves of energy spread out from Terra Prime at faster than light speed, disrupting the molecular bonds that held the Devourer ships together. The massive biomechanical vessels began dissolving into their component atoms as their organic and mechanical parts lost cohesion. In the aftermath, Jake Morrison stood beside strategist watching the sunrise over their damaged but victorious world. Pieces of destroyed Devourer ships fell from the sky like strange snow, while rescue teams searched for survivors from both species. "Your people fought like madness," strategist said through the translation device. "No logic, no plan, only courage and anger. Devourers could not adapt to madness." Jake looked at the smoking ruins of the mining colony that had become humanity's first interstellar battlefield. "We're not very good at giving up. It's probably our worst habit and our greatest strength." The Zephyrians chose to stay on Terra Prime, helping to rebuild the colony into something that neither species could have achieved alone. When they finally re-established contact with Earth, the message was simple but profound. Terra Prime survives. We are no longer alone, and we are no longer afraid. The forgotten mining colony had become the foundation of humanity's first galactic alliance, proving that sometimes the greatest victories come from the most unlikely heroes fighting impossible battles with nothing but determination and the refusal to surrender when everything seems lost.